This is presentation number 3 of our series of 16. This particular one is on Chincoteague as the city of Nephi. Chincoteague is a Mesoamerican site that's located in the southern part of Chiapas. It's in the highland portion of Mexico, a stone's throw from the border of Guatemala. If you went 3-4 miles south, you'd be crossing the Guatemala border. And so that's how far south it is. It's up in the highlands. If you remember last week, we'll get into this a little bit more, but we talked about how the Lamanites were mostly in the southern highlands of Mexico, actually most of it in Guatemala. And that is the original landing area and development of Lehi's group when they landed. Then Nephi went northward, and he went up, and they became part of what's referred to as the northern group of the highland line. So at Chincoteague, we find several features that identifies it as the city of Nephi. First, it is over 5,000 feet higher in elevation, which makes it an accurate statement when the Book of Mormon says Mosiah went down to Zarahemla. And remember last time we talked about the directional information that's given to us in the Book of Mormon. When they say they go down to, that's elevation. When they say they go up to, that's elevation. When they say we cross the borders into, that's usually either a mountain range or a river. And those are the natural borders of these lands. So they went down to the city of Zarahemla. Makes sense. It's 5,000 feet above Zarahemla. And here again, this just kind of gives you a layout. It shows you that Yashiklan, which is Zarahemla, is in the lowlands right here along the Yosemite River. And Chincoteague is located way up here in the highlands. Still in Mexico, but barely, almost into Guatemala. Chincoteague Monument 18 illustrates the historical event of Zeniff asking Mosiah's permission to return to the city of Nephi and Mosiah's subsequent blessing to proceed. If you remember in the Book of Mormon, they came down into out of the city of Nephi down to Zarahemla. And there all kinds of things are recorded that took place. He recorded the kings, he gave them their language, he taught the people his particular, what was on the plates and the information about his religion. And things flourished under Mosiah. But Zeniff says, I want to go back to where we came from. And here you see on this particular, on this photo of this monument, in the lower left corner is an individual who's on his knees, and he's got his hands up like he's imploring, and he's looking up and asking. Behind him is a pillar. Pillars are often referred to, or cities are often referred to as pillars. They are a place that's located, that are set, and they uphold whatever is going on in that particular region. And here, this is topped off with a quetzal bird, which we believe is indicative of the Holy Spirit or the spirituality of that particular location. Later on, well, here in the next slide, we're going to look at Abinadi. Abinadi was actually a prophet. He was against King Noah. He went up against King Noah, and he tried to tell him and the 24 priests, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to do the right thing. They threatened his life. Alma tried to take up for him, and Alma was chased out, and then his life was threatened. They did kill Abinadi, but Alma wrote down the words of Abinadi and began a church in the wilderness. And so all of that taking place, that has to do with the spirituality. Out of the city of Nephi, the top of this pillar, is the spirituality of the people. And here you have Mosiah, who is extending his right hand and placing it we can see that the second figure, the one on the right, appears to be engulfed in flame, which has been highlighted in yellow. Here's the flame that's out here in front of him. It's interesting to note that the hand of the priest is emerging from the flame and gives a gesture toward the king. Right here, circled in the blue, is that gesture. And it's the same gesture that they use today down there. When they put their hand up and they put it back at you, in our society, that in recent times has been talk to the hand, right? But in essence, what it means there is right back at you, buddy. And if you stop and think about what Abinadi said to King Noah at the time, he said, the very same way I die, you will die. And it was right back at you. What you do to me will happen to you. So here it is illustrated in a monument. King Noah and Abinadi, the flames and the hand, the gesture of what he said. What you do to me will happen to you. This aspect seems to reflect the statements made in the Book of Mormon concerning the death of Abinadi, and the fact that it's here in the city where that takes place is amazing. Monument 3 is a depiction of the 24 priests of King Noah. These priests had kidnapped 24 Lamanite women and are shown here after being captured by the Lamanite warriors. The Lamanite women begged for the lives of their husbands, which was granted. Now this is how we interpret it. In the bottom left-hand corner, again, you have someone who's on their knees, on the ground. His hand is bound, and he is looking up because this person has power over him. Behind this individual is a woman who's standing. Her right hand, which is an illustration of action to which she is faithful. Her right hand is on the back of this man who is kneeling down. Her left hand is up in front of her, and from her mouth comes a speech scroll. And it's a very eloquent speech scroll. That speech comes out and touches the arm of this warrior. This warrior is the person who has power over both of these individuals here. And if you notice his hand, that is a right hand. You can tell by his body posture. He's facing us. It's on the left side. That's his right hand. But it has a left hand at the end of the arm. It is what we call the reversed hand symbol, and that means repentance. They reversed their actions. They reversed their intent. His intent as a warrior was to put these men to death because they had stolen their women. But the women said, these are our husbands. You can't do this to us. These are our husbands. Please, would you please not do this? And so they repented. They reversed their action, and they did not kill them. Again, this is another event that took place in in the city of Nephi. And here it is illustrated on monument number 3. Monument 7 is the composite story concerning the discovery and translation of the 24 golden plates. The sword blades are shown in the lower left, over here, and Limhi or Mosiah is on the right. And I say Limhi Mosiah, this is mostly Mosiah, we believe, because of the headdress. But we don't believe there's ever anywhere in the Book of Mormon that states that Mosiah received the swords with the rusted hilts. That was only presented to Limhi. However, here it is. That whole story is illustrated here on this particular stela. Here in the bottom left-hand corner, again, is an individual who's kneeling. They are submissive to this individual who is standing up on the right-hand side. He is holding what looks like a bundle of sticks. If you look the second photograph from the left, you'll see he's holding something that looks like a bundle of sticks. We believe that those are representing the swords with the rusted hilts. And they're being given to this individual. Then, here, about halfway up, is a box that's being held in the right arm of the king. This particular box has an illustration here in the front that is a dot with a C or a half circle around it. That's a Maya symbol for gold. There is, in the middle of this, an X, which indicates something that is sacred. We don't see it because this isn't blown up enough, but when you do blow this up, there is the number 24. And it's not the typical count of a clamshell with 4 dots. A clamshell is 20 in my account. In my account, a bar has a value of 5. And you typically see 19 is 3 bars and 4 dots. That's 3 times 5 is 15, and then the 4 dots is 19. And 20 becomes a clamshell, but that's not illustrated here. It's actually 4 bars and 4 dots. So it's 24. It's a count of something that and if you look at it, you can interpret it as 24 golden sacred things. What does that sound like? It's the 24 plates of ether, the golden plates, the 24 golden plates that ether had written on. And it appears that it was found in some kind of a small box. Then, the headdress that's being worn by this king shows that he is a seer. That is a huge eye that's in that headdress. And then coming off the front of that headdress, you can see in the upper left over here, is a bird head. Again, spirituality. So he sees spiritual things. Again, Mosiah, the conversation that went on between Ammon and Limhi was that, well, we know someone who can interpret these plates. He's a seer, and he can interpret these plates. So here we are in this composite drawing demonstrating an event that is so unique and happened at the city of Nephi. Limhi sent the soldiers to look for Zarahemla. They got lost, came across all of these swords and these 24 gold plates and brought them back. About the same time that Ammon shows up and from Zarahemla, because Mosiah had sent Ammon out to look for these guys, and he found Limhi. And they have this conversation. Well, we know somebody who can do this. And so they all leave and go down to Zarahemla. This is amazing. One of the more interesting stories concerning the city of Nephi is the secret pass through which King Limhi's people escaped at night. Chincoteague has a unique feature that fits this narrative. And this is what's one of the amazing things about Chincoteague. The main part of the city where there are a lot of stela is out here in the front, in the foreground of this particular drawing. There's all kinds of stela. The Abinadi stela is out here. Most of the stela that I have shown you so far are located out in this area to the lower left. Then there's a testimony in the architecture of this area that's here on the right-hand side. And that's concerning Abinadi and the prophets Nephi and Lehi and the prison where the walls are engulfed in flames. Up over here is a very interesting feature at the very top of this drawing. This is the main mound and the area where we believe Abinadi was actually killed. Out here in front of this plaza, in front of the 24 priests. But here we have cliffs that are a cliff face ancient city has a backdrop of extremely high cliffs. So now for a vertical view, looking down, this is from the sky looking down. Here is that mound that you looked at with the temple on top. Here's the cenote, here's the lake, and right here is the secret pass. The topographical map illustrates the secret pass, and it's invisible from a frontal view. From when you're down on the ground, you can't see that. By the way, I'm going to show you a photograph of these cliffs here on this high side to the right, and then looking down into the cenote. So here are the cliffs. We can see they're behind the temple. And then right below it is this cenote. It goes 200 feet down from the temple. And the left-hand side of that pass is just as impressive. It's straight down. This is the temple at the top of the mound that blocks direct view and access to the secret pass. You've got to go past this temple in order to go across the pass. And this is looking from down below. You can't see it. You're looking at these cliffs. You think that there's a chasm all the way across here. It's just amazing. From this perspective drawing of Chincoteague, it becomes evident that the secret pass is hidden from all observations of the city. The Book of Mormon states that the Nephites escaped to the left of the Lamanite camp, and which we believe was over here on this side of the lake, to the very right side of this drawing. From their camp, the pass cannot be seen. The group led by King Lemhi would have left the city by the route indicated while under the cover of darkness. Estimates indicate that more than 20,000 people could have escaped in a 6-hour period. It's important to remember that not only did the escape occur at night, but Lemhi's people had gotten the Lamanites drunk. Moreover, from the vantage point of the Lamanite camp, no one could see the secret pass. So this is up at the front part of that temple looking out where we, on this plain on the other side of the lake where we believe the Lamanite camp was. And they just could not see what's going on behind the temple and on up into that tree cover behind. This is looking down on a Google Earth map. Again, here's a lake, here's the river that goes around and into the other lake, here's the cenote. This is the bridge behind the temple. The temple's located here. The land bridge goes here and empties up into the forest on the back side. Up on this upper side up above, they found what's referred to as the altar of Sivamia. Got to wrap my tongue around that one. Sivamia. The altar was found above Chincoteague elevation-wise, and it depicts Lemhi's people crossing the pass at night to escape the Lamanites. Several things to look at here. You notice that this individual, his eyes are closed, indicating it's nighttime. He has his right arm up, covering his face. What did we know? We know that the Nephites went to the left of the Lamanite camp. So his right arm is up to hide his face so that we aren't seen. We can't be identified. Right? Notice the way that they depicted his stepping. It's very gingerly walking and being careful not to be detected. And they're going up steps. Now, that alone would be interesting, would be amazing, but there's more. When we turn it sideways, take a look. The sides of this altar have these waves on 3 sides. Notice that there's water on 3 sides. They have depicted this temple or these steps in such a way that it creates a triangle shape, and that is this mound. It is a triangle shape that has steps with a narrow pass in the middle. Steps with a narrow pass in the middle. On top of that, there are people who have interpreted that these particular symbols indicate that it's water on either side of that pass. But the way that that's depicted, that symbol can also mean the sun. A circle with a dot is a symbol for the sun. So, what could be being said here is the sun went down, we made our escape before the sun came up. It's just amazing. And that is the story, one of the most amazing stories of the city of Nephi. And here's a monument to illustrate. The Chincoteague disc, or the La Esperanza disc, states that this king became the king of zero. It's one of the first depictions that they had found with a symbol that meant zero. For the longest time, they didn't think the Maya had the concept of zero. But then they found this and realized they did. And this king became the king of zero. Also notice here, he's in a ball court. He's in the position of a ball player, and he's putting a ball into play. One of the things that we have discovered about the symbolism that the Maya use is when they have a ball that's being put into play, very often what they're referring to is a people that are being tossed into a new land. They're having to take a journey. They're being moved. Something is putting them in motion. That comes out of Isaiah, where he talks about being tossed like a ball into a new land. So this particular king moved his people and became the king of nothing. We believe this disc refers to King Limhi, who abdicated his kingship to help his people be delivered from Lamanite occupation. Remember, if you remember, he said, "We'll go be slaves to the Nephites. We need to be out from under this Lamanite occupation." And Anne says, no, we don't do slavery where we are. You come and be with us. But he gave up his kingship so that his people could be free from the Lamanite rule and occupation. Monument 8 is a depiction of Nephi to show the effect that he had on all 7 tribes in Book of Mormon history. This is depicted by the 7-headed necklace that he wears, and it's around here. And what this depicts is the reason I selected this to be part of the presentation is because I want you to understand they're also showing Nephi here. So we have Abinadi and Mosiah and Zenith, and we have the 24 priests of Noah, and then we have here the Nephi. All of these people are part of the city of Nephi group. So again, after assessing the entire body of evidence found here at Chincoteague, we find a lengthy list of reasons to identify this site as a direct parallel to the city of Nephi. We are therefore encouraged to continue ignoring the official dates that are assigned to the Mayan culture. Further, this list is compiled of strong, story-specific evidences that are unique to the Book of Mormon story. Mosiah, Abinadi, Limhi, and the missionary Nephi are all from different eras specific to the city of Nephi. And yet, here they are, recorded in stone. Incredibly, the physical features of this site, fitting the Limhi secret past story so perfectly, only serves to put an exclamation point on the claim that Chincoteague is the city of Nephi. We continue to state the claim that this trend will continue as we move forward and investigate the Mayan culture as a parallel to the stories in the Book of Mormon. And that completes our presentation on Chincoteague and the city of Nephi. Our next presentation will be on why we are given this particular set of stories in the Book of Mormon, why they're important.